Welcome to Agent Amigos Talk. Today, Ted Decker, the man behind Home Depot's reinvention. This is Ted Decker. Sit back, this is going to be worth your time. So, let's start with a simple question: who is Ted Decker? If you're like most people, you might not recognize the name right away, but you've probably walked through the orange aisles of his company. Ted Decker is the current CEO of the Home Depot, the giant home improvement retailer that has become a household name across North America. He took the helm in March 2020, right at the onset of a global pandemic, and since then, he's been steering one of the most recognizable brands in retail through unprecedented times. But Ted Decker isn't just a corporate suit, he's a guy who grew up in the retail trenches, learned the business from the ground up, and has a deep appreciation for the people who make the company tick, the associates, the customers, and the communities they serve. In this talk, we're going to explore his journey, from his early days in Georgia to his current role as CEO. And we'll unpack the key decisions and strategies that have defined his leadership. We'll look at how. To understand Ted Decker, we have to go back to his roots. He was born and raised in the state of Georgia, which is interesting because Georgia is also home to Home Depot's headquarters. He grew up in a typical American family, and from a young age, he showed a knack for numbers and problem-solving. He attended the Georgia Institute of Technology, better known as Georgia Tech, where he earned a bachelor's degree in industrial engineering. That might seem like a far cry from retail, but industrial engineering is all about optimizing systems and processes, skills that would later prove invaluable in managing a massive supply chain and operations. After undergrad, he didn't stop there. He went on to get an MBA from Harvard Business School, which is like the gold standard for business education. So, we're talking about a guy who had a solid technical foundation and then layered on top of that a world-class business education. But here's the thing, he didn't start his career in retail at. So, why would a guy with a Harvard MBA and a cushy consulting job at McKinsey jump into retail? Well, it's not as crazy as it sounds. Consulting is great, but you're often advising from the sidelines, you don't get to see the impact of your recommendations in real time. Ted Decker wanted to be in the game, not just calling the plays from the booth. He was drawn to Home Depot because it was a company with a strong culture, a clear mission, and a huge growth potential. In 2000, Home Depot was already a giant, but it was also facing challenges, competition from Lowe's, changing consumer habits, and the need to modernize its operations. Decker saw an opportunity to apply his skills in a real-world setting, to help transform a company that was beloved by millions but needed to adapt. When he joined as Director of Strategic Planning, he was immediately thrown into the deep end. He worked on projects related to store operations, merchandising, and supply chain. He learned the ins and outs of. The early 2000s were a pivotal time for Home Depot. The company had been founded in 1978 by Bernie Marcus and Arthur Blank, and it had grown rapidly through the 80s and 90s, becoming the largest home improvement retailer in the world. But by the time Ted Decker joined in 2000, the company was starting to show its age. Sales were slowing, and the competition was heating up. Decker's initial role was in strategic planning, but he quickly moved into operations. He took on roles in merchandising, where he was responsible for buying and selling products, and later in supply chain, where he oversaw the complex logistics of getting products from suppliers to stores. These were not glamorous jobs, they involved long hours, constant problem-solving, and a lot of pressure. But Decker thrived. He was known for his attention to detail and his willingness to get his hands dirty. He wasn't afraid to visit distribution centers in the middle of the night or walk the aisles of a store to see how produce. Ted Decker's rise through the ranks at Home Depot was not meteoric, it was steady and earned. He didn't jump from one high-profile job to another, he worked his way up through a series of roles that gave him a comprehensive understanding of the company. After his early years in strategic planning and merchandising, he became the Senior Vice President of Logistics, where he was responsible for the entire supply chain network. That was a huge job. Home Depot operates over 2,000 stores across North America, and each one needs to be stocked with thousands of products. Decker oversaw the distribution centers, the trucking fleet, and the technology systems that tracked inventory. He implemented new systems to improve efficiency and reduce costs, and he did it with a focus on sustainability, reducing the company's carbon footprint. In 2014, he was promoted to president of the company's online business, which was a critical role as e-commerce started to take off. He led the development of home. Merchandising might not sound like the most exciting topic, but it's the heart of any retail business. It's all about deciding what products to sell, how to price them, and how to display them in a way that drives sales. Ted Decker spent a significant part of his career in merchandising, and it shaped his understanding of the customer. He learned that customers don't just buy products, they buy solutions. When someone walks into Home Depot, they're not just looking for a hammer or a gallon of paint, they're looking to fix a leaky faucet or transform their kitchen. So, merchandising is about more than just stocking shelves, it's about curating a selection that makes sense for the customer's project. Decker also understood the importance of private brands, products that are exclusive to Home Depot. These products often have higher margins and can differentiate the company from competitors. Under his leadership, Home Depot expanded its private brand offerings, like the Husky line of 2. Now, let's talk about something that doesn't get a lot of glamour but is absolutely critical: the supply chain. Ted Decker's background in industrial engineering and logistics made him a natural fit to lead Home Depot's supply chain transformation. When he took over as senior vice president of logistics, the company was still relying on a network of regional distribution centers that were built in the 1990s. But the world had changed, online orders were growing, and customers expected faster delivery. So, Decker oversaw a massive overhaul of the supply chain. He invested in new technology, like automated sorting systems and robotics, to speed up order fulfillment. He also expanded the number of distribution centers, adding new facilities that were strategically located to serve customers more efficiently. One of the key innovations was the introduction of direct fulfillment centers, which ship online orders directly to customers, bypassing the stores. This reduced shipping times and In March 2020, Ted Decker was named CEO of Home Depot, succeeding Craig Menear, who had led the company for 6 years. The timing was, to say the least, dramatic. The COVID-19 pandemic was just beginning to sweep across the globe, and the world was heading into lockdown. Home Depot, as an essential retailer, was allowed to stay open, but it had to adapt quickly to new safety protocols, like social distancing, mask requirements, and capacity limits. Decker was thrown into the deep end, but he had the advantage of 20 years of experience at the company. He knew the business inside and out, and he had the trust of the board and the employees. His first few months as CEO were a whirlwind. He had to ensure the safety of his associates, keep stores stocked, and manage a surge in demand as people stuck at home decided to tackle home improvement projects. But Decker was up to the challenge. He communicated regularly with employees, providing clear guidance and support. He also made tough decisions. The pandemic was a once-in-a-century event that challenged every business, but it was particularly challenging for retailers. Home Depot was deemed essential, so it didn't have to close its stores, but it had to operate under extraordinary conditions. Ted Decker's response to the pandemic was a masterclass in crisis management. He prioritized the health and safety of associates and customers, implementing rigorous cleaning protocols, installing plexiglass barriers at checkout, and providing masks and gloves. He also introduced a curbside pickup service, allowing customers to order online and pick up their purchases without entering the store. This was a game-changer, as it allowed Home Depot to continue serving customers while minimizing physical contact. Decker also had to manage a surge in demand that was unprecedented in the company's history. With millions of people stuck at home, many turned to home improvement projects, building decks, painting walls, landscaping gardens. Sales. One of Ted Decker's key strategic initiatives is what he calls interconnected retail. This is the idea that the physical stores and the digital channels should work together seamlessly, providing a unified shopping experience for customers. In practice, this means that a customer can browse products online, check availability at their local store, and either have the item shipped to their home or reserve it for pickup. It also means that the store associates have access to real-time inventory data, so they can help customers find products or order them on the spot. Decker has been a champion of this approach because he believes that it leverages Home Depot's biggest asset, its network of stores. While pure-play e-commerce companies like Amazon have to build expensive fulfillment centers, Home Depot can use its stores as mini distribution hubs. This allows for faster and cheaper delivery, especially for bulky items like lumber or appliances. Decker has invested heavily in technology. Ted Decker often says that Home Depot's greatest asset is its people. He's not just saying that for public relations, he genuinely believes it. Under his leadership, Home Depot has increased its investment in associates, both in terms of compensation and training. In 2021, the company announced that it would invest $1 billion in wage increases and benefits, including raising the minimum hourly wage for all hourly associates. This was a significant move, especially in a tight labor market where retailers were struggling to hire and retain workers. But Decker argues that it's not just about the money, it's about creating a culture where people feel valued and have opportunities to grow. Home Depot has long been known for its orange blood culture, where many executives started in entry-level positions. Decker is a prime example. He joined the company as a director, but he's worked his way up. He wants to make sure that every associate has the same opportunity. He has also focused on him. Let's talk numbers, because at the end of the day, a CEO is judged on financial performance. Under Ted Decker's leadership, Home Depot has been on a tear. In fiscal 2021, the company generated over $151 billion in sales, an increase of 14.4% from the previous year. This was the highest revenue in the company's history. Net earnings also soared to over $16 billion, a 28% increase. These numbers are even more impressive when you consider that 2021 was still a year of pandemic-related challenges, including supply chain disruptions and labor shortages. How did Home Depot achieve such strong results? A combination of factors: a booming housing market, which drove demand for home improvement, and the company's strategic investments in e-commerce and supply chain. But Decker has also focused on productivity and efficiency, using technology to streamline operations and reduce costs. He has also been disciplined with capital allocation, returning cash to shareholders through dividends and share. In recent years, there has been a growing expectation that corporations should be good citizens, and Ted Decker has embraced that responsibility. Under his leadership, Home Depot has stepped up its sustainability efforts, with a focus on reducing carbon emissions, minimizing waste, and sourcing products responsibly. The company has set science-based targets to reduce its carbon footprint by 50% by 2035, and it has been investing in renewable energy, including installing solar panels on store roofs and purchasing wind power. Home Depot has also been working to reduce packaging waste and increase the use of recycled materials. But sustainability isn't just about the environment, it's also about social responsibility. Home Depot has a long history of supporting communities, particularly in the areas of disaster relief and affordable housing. The company's foundation has donated millions of dollars to organizations like the American Red Cross and Habitat for Humanity. Decker has continued. As we wrap up, let's consider what Ted Decker's legacy will be. He took over Home Depot at a time of great uncertainty and has led the company to record success. But his impact goes beyond the numbers. He has transformed the company's culture, making it more focused on digital innovation, sustainability, and employee well-being. He has also positioned Home Depot for the future, with a strong supply chain, a robust e-commerce platform, and a clear strategy for growth. But what does the future hold? The home improvement industry is expected to continue growing, driven by an aging housing stock, a trend toward remote work, and a desire for sustainable living. Home Depot is well positioned to capitalize on these trends, but it will face challenges, including rising inflation, supply chain disruptions, and intense competition from both traditional rivals like Lowe's and new players like Amazon. Ted Decker will need to continue to innovate and adapt, but he has shown that he has the skills. Audience Q&A, your questions answered. Continuing the same age and Amigos talk about Ted Decker. Audience Q&A, your questions answered. Here is the deeper story. Think about what we have covered so far. Now, extending the discussion, every major point in this talk connects to how Ted Decker shapes the way we see the world. The examples are everywhere once you start looking. Experts and everyday people alike are talking about this right now, and the conversation is only getting bigger. Here are 3 more angles worth considering in detail. First, the history: how did we get here? Second, the present: what is happening right now that most people miss? Third, the future: where is this heading, and what should you do about it? Let's take each one in turn and go deeper than the headlines. That is what makes this topic so compelling. It is not just information, it is a shift in perspective. And when you finish this talk, you will see Ted Decker differently, guaranteed. Thank you for Deep Dive, Key Concepts Explained. Continuing the same age and Amigos talk about Ted Decker. Deep Dive, Key Concepts Explained. Here is the deeper story. Think about what we have covered so far. Now, extending the discussion, every major point in this talk connects to how Ted Decker shapes the way we see the world. The examples are everywhere once you start looking. Experts and everyday people alike are talking about this right now, and the conversation is only getting bigger. Here are 3 more angles worth considering in detail. First, the history, how did we get here? Second, the present, what is happening right now that most people miss? Third, the future, where is this heading, and what should you do about it? Let's take each one in turn and go deeper than the headlines. That is what makes this topic so compelling. It is not just information, it is a shift in perspective. And when you finish this talk, you will see Ted Dekker differently, guaranteed. Thank you for staying. Thank you for watching Agent Amigos. If this talk sparked something in you, hit like, subscribe to Agent Amigos, and share it with one person who needs to hear it. Knowledge is better when it is shared. See you at the next talk.